Hello everybody. Hello everybody. Hi Sajdev madam. Hi Varsha. I hope all have joined here. So good evening everybody, and today we are going to discuss regarding the integrative approach and the how the Ayurveda managements go very scientifically when it comes to COVID-19. COVID-19 is a pandemic disorder. COVID-19 is a pandemic disorder, and these type of pandemic disorders has been mentioned in nearly all of the Samhitas of Ayurveda. They have mentioned the Samhitas as they have mentioned the topic as Janapada Dhvansa Vyadhis, and Charak has specially given one chapter for the Janapada Dhvansa Vyadhi in Vimanasthan. Sushruta also have explained about Janapada Dhvansa Vyadhi. Even Ashtanga Sangrahakar has also explained about Janapada Dhvansa Vyadhi. So these Janapada Dhvansa or endemic or pandemic disorders are actually not new to the world. Since antiquity, they have been there, and the management has been explained very elaboratively, very nicely, and the most important thing what I want to elaborate today is that the management which has been explained is in a very highly scientific manner. When it comes to Janapada Dhvansa Vyadhi, Acharya Charak describes the term Janapada Dhvansa, meaning that destruction of a population living in an area. It is similar with epidemics, people with having different prakriti, sarata and ahar, but some factors like air and region are common to them, and vitiation of these factors leads to disease production and death, which is termed as Janapada Dhvansa. So when the doshas, when the prakritis, when all are different, how the same disease can occur, and that Charak has explained that though the prakriti or the phenotypes are different into the people, the desh, kal, then jala, all these factors are different factors, so the same disease can occur into all the people into the society. So coming to the Charak Samhita, Acharya Charak has mentioned that adharma as the root cause of Janapada Dhvansa. Now this is very interesting, that how an adharma can create Janapada Dhvansa Vyadhi. That's very important. It's very interesting that adharma, that is again a point of debate with the modern science people, that how can adharma be can create a Janapada Dhvansa, but he has clearly mentioned that adharma as the root cause of Janapada Dhvansa, not following one's duty towards community is called as adharma, and Pradnyaparad is also included into it. Now again, that is a different topic. What do you mean by Pradnyaparad? So not following Dinacharya, not following Ritucharya perfectly, specifically Vega Vidhara, it has a very important, this is very important in getting in developing the immunity. So Vega Vidharan, Papa Karma, again all the sins that what we can call as a Shadaripu, that Kama, Krodha, Mada, Moha, Matsara, it has also an impact on the immune system. So Papa Karma included is Adharma. All these things are responsible for hampering immunity of an individual. It has been clearly mentioned in Ayurveda. Now, coming to the very important sutra from Sushruta Samhita Kushta Nidan, that Sushruta Samhita explains that Prasangat Gatra Sansparshat Nishvasat Sahbhojanat Sahashayya Asanat Chapi Vastra Malyanulepanat Kushtam Jwaramscha Shoshamscha Netra Abhishanda Evacha Upsargikascha Roganscha Sankramanti Narandaram. So this is a very important thing, that in those days, thousands of years back, Charak and Sushrut, they were knowing that these disorders, they get transformed from one person to another, and this type of disorders were called as Upsargika disorders. These Janapada Dhvansa disorders were called as Upsargika disorders, and these disorders, they can transform from one person to another. They have called as Narandaram, Sankramanti Narandaram. That's very important. And how it transforms? It transforms Prasangat Gatra Sansparshat. So when the body touches to each other, Prasangat Gatra Sansparshat, by the breath, Nishvasat Sahabhojanat, if we are eating together, Nishvasat Sahabhojanat, Sahashayya Asanat Chapi, if we are sharing the common bed, Sahashayya Asanat Chapi, if we are sharing the common clothes, Vastra Malyanulepanat, then what type of disorders can happen? That's very important. That Kushtam, Jwara, means skin disorders, fever, which what we are finding in COVID-19, fever, Shoshamcha, Netra Bhishanda Evacha, Upsargika Rogancha, Sankramanti Narandaram. So the social distancing message has been given into the causes itself, that Sankramanti Narandaram, it can pass from one person to another. So there should be a social distancing. That message has been given very correctly by Sushruta Samhita. So again, who should be treated? What type of patients are to be treated in Janapada Dhvansa Vyadhi is very important. So some diseases are incurable if Arishta Lakshanas are seen into Janapada Dhvansa Vyadhi. That's very important. That if there are certain fatal disorders, they have clearly indicated that when the fatal disorders are seen, then definitely these patients are not to be treated. No, it is not, it can't be applied in today's era, but they have clearly mentioned that the fatal disorders, if they are seen, the patients are to be excluded from the treatment. So some disease incurable if Arishta Lakshanas are seen, while others even without such signs are incurable because of certain Purva Karmaj. Means in Janapada Dhvansa Vyadhi, those patients who are going to land or who are going to suffer into the Janapada Dhvansa Vyadhi, even their what we call as fatal past birth deeds, that is what we call as Purva Karmas. Purva Karmas also play a very important role in expressing the symptoms, in getting into the disease and not getting into the disease. So Ayurveda emphasizes on the treatment of Sadhya Vyadhis only. That's very clear. That only Sadhya Vyadhis, only those patients who are not having any fatal symptoms, only those patients are to be treated. They have clearly mentioned, and thus treatment of those who don't show the fatal sign is mentioned below. They have clearly indicated that those patients who don't show any fatal signs, only those patients are to be treated by Ayurveda. Means other patients, those who don't, those who show the fatal symptoms, they are not to be treated, and they should be excluded from the treatment in those days. These were the comments in those days. So we have to go in those days, and then we have to look after the symptoms actually. So coming to the next slide, Agnivesh again asked that एवं वदिनं भगवन् मातरे अग्निवेश उवाच उद्धृतानि खलु भगवन् वैषज्यानि सम्यग् हितानि सम्यग् वचरितानि च अपि तु खलु जनोपदध्वंस नव एक व्याधिनां युगपत् समान प्रकृत्या आहार देह बल सात्म्य सत्व वयसा मनुष्याणां कस्मिन् उद्भवति. So when all these factors are totally different, then how a same disease can occur into all the people of the community? And the answer is given that when the some factors are common in certain people, that is vayu, then udaka, that is jala, then that is desha, and the most important is the kal. The kal is very, very important, and this kal, desh, udaka and vayu, these are the four factors which are common, which can land a person into Janapada Dhvansa Vyadhis, that the same symptoms are seen, same disease occurs. And again, very interesting for today's era, very interesting quotations, that those who did not engage into the identical acts in their prior lives and those who are not destined to die during calamities, for their cure, 5 elimination therapies, that is Panchakarma, is advocated for them. And for them, the proper use of Rasayan Chikitsa. Here the word comes Rasayan, which we are going to emphasize a lot. That they have clearly mentioned that Yesha Mrityu Samanyam Samanyam Nacha Karmanam Karma Panchavidham Tesham Bheshajam Paramuchyate. So first we have to give Panchakarma, and Rasayananam Vividhochupyogya Shasyate Shasyate Deha Vrittischa Bheshajaihi Purvamadhrutaihi. So for those patients who don't show any fatal signs, those who are going to live, who are going to get treated, those patients should be subjected to, if they should be subjected to Panchakarma, and then thereafter the Rasayan treatment is to be given to these type of people. So again, a very, very important quotation. These quotations actually we ignore when we are managing the patient. But when we are looking into the society in today's era, this type of quotation comes to help. That in those days also, there was a panicity into the panic. Things were occurring in those days in Janapada Dhvansa or in the pandemic disorders. So those people who are truthfulness, having compassion of living beings, charity, sacrifice, worship of God, observance of right conduct, tranquility, prophylactic protection of oneself, and seeking one's own good. That's very important. That those persons who are under treatment, they should seek their own good. Residing in a wholesome country, service to those observing brahmacharya and following it, discussion of religious scriptures, constant association with the rightness, the well-disposed and those who are approved by the elders, and all this with a view of protecting life has been termed medicine, which is destined to die and to those who are not destined to die. Those people who are not destined to die, only those people are to be subjected for this type of treatment. That's very important message from the from the Samhitas to the people. So again they have clearly mentioned that when a person who lands, or when the people in the community land into endemic or pandemic disorder, a general treatment they have given. They have advised a general treatment which is very, very important, and where we are missing it to tell to the people, tell to the community that they should be using Kinnu Khalu Bhagwan Jaritebhya Paniyam Ushnam Prayachanti Bishajo Bhuishtam Cha Tatha Shitam Astim Cha Shita Sadhyopi Dhatur Jvarakaram Iti. So we have to advise. So Jvaritasyam Kayam Samuthana Desha Kala Abhisamiksha Pachanartha Paniyam Ushnam. That's very, very important, that we are forgetting to tell the people. Specifically now it is a summer of April and May, which the temperature is going very high. And in these days, all the people, they are again landing into consuming cold drinks, refrigerated water, chilled water. So the most important thing, which is very, very free to the people, which people can opt it very easily, that they should start consuming warm water. Warm water can be prepared, hot water can be prepared, stored into the thermos, and that hot water should be consumed. Hot water should be consumed continuously throughout the day. They should not consume any cold water or cold drinks or any chilled substance. So this is very, very important message to the society, that only cold water is to be consumed. No, so only hot water is to be consumed. You should not consume cold water at all. That's very important. Yes, I can understand that slides are not important, but there are many doctors who are attached to this lecture. So I feel that we should show the slides. Then the second part is that what can the cold water do? So तत्तेषां पितं वातानुलोमयति अग्निं च उदीरयति क्षिप्रं जरा गच्छति श्लेष्माणं परिशोषयति स्वल्पम अपि च पितं तृष्णा प्रशमनं तथा युक्तमपि ज्वरे सदाह भ्रम प्रलाप अतिसारे वा प्रदेयम् उष्णेन हि दाह भ्रम प्रलाप अतिसार भूय विवर्धन्ते शीतेन चोपशम्यति. So those people who are not having any gastrointestinal problem, those who are not having any loose motion like things, they should consume lukewarm water when they are into the pandemic of such, in the area of pandemic, or when they are into the region of pandemic, they should consume lukewarm water, which can help them to improve their Agni. So this is a second message given by the Sanhitakars, that when the person is landing into, when the peoples are landing into pandemic disorders, that we should preserve our Agni very nicely. And that message I have to give it very correctly to the common man also, that many a time it's happening like that people, those who are into the lockdown now, people who are into the lockdown, they are more engaged into eating more and more food. When they are engaged in eating more and more food, they are on the contrary damaging their Agnis. They are, because as there is a lockdown, we can't go for the endurance exercise regularly, we can't go for running, we can't go for cycling. Definitely we are not motivated to go for endurance exercise, and in our rooms also. So at that time, your food should be like that, which can preserve your Agni very perfectly, because in all the pandemic disorders, it happens like that the Agni factor into the body, it gets vitiated for all the people into the community. That's very important. So when all the people into the community, they have some problem with the Agni, these people can land into such type of, they can catch with such type of infections very fast. So definitely people has to control their diet, their food very correctly. Then coming to the other part, that the next treatment, after telling that people should go for lukewarm water, people should preserve their Agni, then the next part is that, which again we are missing. Basically, when there are different stages of the treatment, what I am going to elaborate it afterwards, that there are certain stages. People who are into the catchment area, people who have locked down themselves, people who are suspected or who are in the contacts, people who are corona positive, COVID positive, but not showing any symptoms, people who are showing very mild symptoms but don't need any emergency care. For all those people, the management actually should be different. Now, I have gone through many things that people are promoting, that you eat more fruits, more vitamin C, more vitamin D, more citrus fruits, then you eat very well, and people have started very well. I'm looking towards the social media, that majority of the social media is full of the recipes, and people are preparing different type of food and consuming it, not having any concern with their Agni. So whenever the Vayu has been changed, when there is a problem with Vayu, when there is a problem with Jala, when there is a problem with Desha, and when there is a problem with Kala, it seems that it has an impact on the Agni of the person, definitely. And when the Agni of the person has been impacted, your diet should be a very, very limited. What we can say, the portion size should be very limited. The portion size should be controlled. I can show you the quotations from Sushruta that the portion size should be very correct, and the diet which the patient is taking in any stage, it should be light to get digested. It should be very, very light to get digested. You can't go for a very heavy food in these days when you are locked down and when you are in the in the period of pandemic disorders. You should not go for a very heavy diet. What exactly people are doing the reverse. Excessive fruits people are consuming now. These in India, the days of mangoes, and in these days people are eager to eat mangoes. In these days people are eager to eat grapes. So these fruits are there actually very guru to get digested. They are very heavy as per the Ayurvedic philosophy. They are very heavy to get digested. So this type of food is to be restricted. A very light food, and that to a very less portion size should be consumed. That's a very important. So when the person who is into the catchment or who is in the contact, at that time they have clearly mentioned that apatarpan is very important, because what we assume that COVID-19 is a type of a jwara. So then it's very what we can call as a difficult to explain that which type of jwara it will be. It will be vata kafaj, or it can be vata, or it is vata pittaj, or whether it is sannipatik. So it is an area of discussion actually, but definitely it is a jwara. And if we say it is a jwara, then the common what we call as the Chikitsa Sutra, or the common line of treatment of jwara which Ayurveda elaborates, is that we should have Langhan into it. It's very important. Okay, those patients who are cachexia, who are very weak, the females who are pregnant, very little children who are into the catchment areas or who are under the hotspots, they can be excluded from all such type of lagu ahar. But definitely people where majority of the people we are under metabolic syndromes, and those people who are under metabolic syndrome, they should definitely go for Langhan, intermittent fasting, what we call as ekasana, or one time meal, or what we can call as once in 16 hours meal. That such type of food we can advise to the patient. So Charak has clearly elaborated apatarpam vicha trividham langhanam, langhana pachanam, doshavasechanam chaiti. So these three types of langhan are to be advocated by the patient themselves. So in spite of eating more and more, they should have a very little small portion of food. They should not go for refrigerated food. They should not go for chilled food. They should have a small portion of food, and that too they should follow the dinacharya, that the time span between the two food should be a proper time span, and that should be followed very correctly by the people. So secondly, in those which people are not fit for the treatment, this is again a very, very interesting quotation. So once the state of disease is assessed, the physician should remember that even if the elimination therapy could be felt as necessary or required, other forms of depletion therapies and nourishing therapies should not be administered. I am telling you, should not be administered to such patient, to those who have not been absolved of allegation against them, those who are without wealth or attendance, those who do not follow their doctors. Very important. See the panic condition in those days also. In those days, in the pandemic time, people used to deny the treatments. So those people who do not follow their doctor instruction, those who are violent, those who are jealous, those who take keen pleasure in vicious act, those whose strength, muscle, bulk and blood have been excessively depleted, should not be treated. They have clearly indicated it. So the patient should be obeying the doctors very correctly. The patient should be supportive very nicely. And if the patient is supportive, definitely it becomes very easy to treat the doctors, because doctors are also at a risk when they are treating the pandemic disorders. So looking to the symptoms of COVID-19, here is the symptomatology. Now different type of symptoms are seen in different type of word. Here rhinorrhea, sneezing or sore throat. So definitely the virus is attacking the upper respiratory tract. So respiratory disorders are seen in the early period. So rhinorrhea is there, or sometimes there is no secretion from the nose. Nowadays the new patients are coming with no signs of rhinorrhea. Sneezing and sore throat are the cardinal symptoms, which is a stage 1 symptom in the disease. Then the second, it goes to pneumonia or pneumonia or ground glass opacities, then acute respiratory distress syndrome, that is SARS. So these are the symptomatology. So symptomatic disorders are there, fever is there, cough is there, fatigue, sometimes there is sputum production, or majority of the time there is a dry cough, headache, hemoptysis is seen, acute cardiac injuries, hypoxemia, dyspnea, lymphomia and diarrhea. So these are the symptoms, common symptoms which are seen in COVID-19. So other symptoms, patient with COVID-19 show clinical manifestation including fever, non-productive cough is there, dyspnea is there, myalgia is there, fatigue is there, or normal or decreased leukocyte counts and radiographic evidence of pneumonia, which are similar to SARS-CoV. It is not pneumonia actually, it is similar to the symptoms of SARS-CoV and MERS-CoV infections. So hence, although the pathogenesis of COVID-19 is poorly understood, the similar mechanism of SARS-CoV and MERS-CoV still can give us a lot of information of the pathogens of SARS-CoV to infection to felicitate or recognition of COVID-19. The main intention of this lecture was to explore and elaborate the mechanism of action of this treatment what Ayurveda has elaborated. It's very important that why Sanhitakars have elaborated about Langhan. Why they are telling that, okay, that it should be a controlled food, it should be a Laghu Ahar. Why they are telling that in Jwara treatment, there should be medicines which are Tikta Rasatmak. Mainly if you see the Chikitsa Sutra, they have clearly mentioned that Langhanam Svedanam Kalo Yavagvos Tiktako Rasaha. That the very important thing is that they have not mentioned a single herb into the Chikitsa Sutra or line of the treatment. They have given the principle, and that principle we have to follow very correctly, that Kasmin Vare Ushnam Jwalam Deyam, that we have to give lukewarm water to the people. That lukewarm water can have an impact on the Agni or to the digestive metabolic factor of the body. That's very important. Then Langhanam, why the person should go for fasting. What are the molecular changes? What molecular changes can occur into the body when a patient who is into the stage 1, stage 2 or into the contacts of the COVID-19 patient, why that patient should go for Langhanam, Svedanam, Kalo. Then why bitter tasting medicine? There is a difference between the modern medicine and the Ayurveda medicine. Ayurveda pharmacology has been elaborated in the terms of Rasa, Virya and Vipak and Prabhav, whereas the modern medicines has been elaborated in the terms of the molecules and the receptors. So when they tell that it should be Langhan, it should be fasting, and many a times it should be what we can call as Yavagvos Tiktako Rasaha. So whatever the food we are giving and whatever the medicines we are giving, the food should be very light to digest, and medicine should be bitter tasted medicine. That is the principle of the treatment of all the jwaras, and I think that the same thing should be applied into COVID-19 management also. Many a times we see that up till now, since last 1 month, people are developing their medicines, and many a times some rasa aushadhis are elaborated, some kalpas are elaborated, but the main focus should be on the Laghu Ahar, the main focus should be on the Koshnajal, the main focus should be on, if the patient is able to go for, should be on the Langhan, specifically those people who are having comorbidities. If you see the death rates and if you see the people who have died due to COVID-19, majority of the people, they are having comorbidities like cardiac, they have some cardio diabetic metabolic syndromes, they have metabolic syndromes, they have diabetes, or specifically people also have obesity where the immune system in all the metabolic disorders is strongly compromised. So basically Langhan, then Laghu Ahar, that is food which is very light to get digested, and bitter tasted medicines are promoted. So what is the reason behind that? Why they are promoted that way? That is a very important. That was the reason. That was the cause behind this lecture that we have to elaborate, because many a times that modern medicine people, they don't believe into these concepts. That okay, why these concepts are there? So believing in these concepts is very, very important. And yes, I'm going to come to stay safe, because even Mahabharat and Ramayana and Charak Sushruta Samhita, they have also elaborated to stay safe into pandemic disorders. And I'm going to elaborate these things at the last of this lecture. So definitely all these things are to be explored very correctly. So when coming for the Langhan and fasting mode of action, it is very, very important that those people who can be subjected to fasting, those patients who have a metabolic disorders should be subjected either for intermittent fasting or for complete fasting. They can be given nutrients through IV, no doubt. If people are thinking about the nutrients, the optimum nutrition can be given by IV, but basically the oral route of administration of the food should be completely holded if possible. So definitely the what happens, that why they have elaborated fasting. So when we are elaborating about the fasting, the hydroxybutyrate levels blocking NLRP3 inflammasome activation is there into the infection when there is viral or bacterial infection. So all viral and bacterial infections, they stimulate inflammation at a molecular level, at a alveolar level. So when a person goes to fasting, interestingly, the loss of mitochondrial integrity facilitates NLRP3 inflammasome activation, and fasting has been shown to blunt this inflammation via the activation of SIR2 and SIR3 regulatory proteins that protect mitochondrial fidelity. So this is very, very important, because this RNA virus, it has a direct impact on the nucleus of the cell. It has a direct impact on the mitochondria. So definitely through the SIR2 theory and SIR3 theory mechanisms, these mechanisms, they are going to save the mitochondria of the cell. That's why fasting has been elaborated very correctly. So for those patients who is able to fast, who is fit to fast, for those patients, the fasting is very, very important, and it can play a major role into the into the inhibition of the symptoms. So again, coming to the people who are having metabolic syndromes, who are having obesity, who are having cardiodiabetic syndromes. So for all those people, the NLRP3 inflammasome was required to high fat diet induce airway hyperactivity and the adipokine leptin, which is elevated in obesity to induce thymus 2 and interleukin C2 responsiveness in experimental airway diseases. So these leptin, adiponectin, which can create inflammation into body, they are deranged, and these thymus 2 cells, it has an impact. The fasting has an impact on the thymus 2 cells. It has an impact on interleukins, and these can control the inflammasomes, which can create inflammation at the alveolar level. And this is a very, very important thing, that fasting can inhibit inflammation at up to certain level, which is created by these viruses. So these include evidence that fasting blunts the activation of NLRP3 inflammasome, suppresses the expression of genes governing CD4 thymus 2 cells activation, and it reduces lung epithelial cell cytokine production in response to house dust mites. So this was an experiment, and this experiment has shown that fasting can have impact on the CD4. So definitely the humoral immunity is also getting stimulated, innate immunity is also getting stimulated through fasting, and definitely the inflammation can be reduced through fasting. So fasting can be considered as a part of medicine. So actually this is the biggest strength of Ayurveda, which has not been elaborated, which has been not been explored in this pandemic. This is a very free treatment. Koshnajal, warm water and fasting are free of cost treatments. If these treatments are properly elaborated, if these treatments are properly administered to the patients in a correct time, up to correct dosage of the fasting, then definitely this patient will be halted at that stage. Patient will not land into more and more complication. Patient may not require any emergency treatments, and that's the importance of fasting. Even though those people, means I know some of my students, they have gone for intermittent fastings for in these lockdowns. We are on intermittent fasting in these lockdown periods, and that has given tremendous strength to us. We are feeling very, very fresh. We are feeling very energetic when we are going for intermittent fastings. At least in these lockdown periods, it will help very nicely. So this Koshnajal and fasting, it has a very, very good impact on the inflammation, on the humoral, and on the innate immune system. So these are the very important treatments which are literally free of cost, and which doesn't have, I think, which doesn't have any untoward effects with them. That's very important. So there are no interactions. So many a times it is claimed that okay, these Ayurveda managements can interact with the modern medicine drugs. So without any interaction, without any cost, we can elaborate these type of treatments. We can elaborate this. We can propagate this Koshnajal, use of Koshnajal, use of warm water. We can elaborate the use of fasting to these patients. That's very important factor. This is how the fasting works. That fasting has a direct impact on the nuclear factor kappa B. Fasting has a direct impact on the inflammasomes, and these inflammasomes again have an impact on the interleukin cascades, which are the most important proteins causing inflammation at a molecular level, at a cellular level in the lungs. So this inflammation can be controlled very nicely, and thus Koshnajal and fasting is very, very important in treating the patients with such type of pandemic disorders. Then Yavagvos Tiktako Rasaha. Definitely one question has arisen that what type of food is to be elaborated. Definitely Ayurveda has its own Pathya Kalpana. And unfortunately, this Pathya Kalpana has not been elaborated very, very correctly into the society. At least during the pandemic, this is a good chance for Ayurveda people to elaborate our Pathya Kalpana, that we have to tell the people, we have to teach the people what is Manda, what is Peya, what is Vilepi, what is Yavagu. It has been come from Ayurveda, and it is a total complete different management, dietary management from Ayurveda, which has to be followed not by only the patients of COVID-19, but by all the people who are locked down throughout the world. So if we go through the Pathya Kalpana, definitely we will be able to elaborate that the importance of Pathya Kalpana, and that Pathya Kalpana is to be followed by each and every person who is under lockdown. And if that Pathya Kalpana is followed, we will not catch the infections. Our innate immunity and adaptive immunity will be stimulated, will be active, and will help to restrict the bacteria very correctly. So this is a very important concept. So the second part was that they have elaborated the bitter tested medicine, and this bitter testing medicine. Why this bitter testing medicine? That's a very important thing. So you can see here there are certain, I told that this managements, Ayurveda management has a direct impact on the innate immune system, that too locally acting innate immune system. It's very, very important that our innate immune system, because it is the fastest immune system, it is a non-specific immune system, it is the fastest immune system which is working, and that fastest immune system will be stimulated by the food, by the Pathya Kalpana, that the Tikta Yavagu what we are consuming, the Tikta Ras medicine what we are consuming, it has a complete impact on the certain type of the mucosal secretion from the nose, from the mouth till the lower respiratory. How it works we will see now within the coming 3-4 slides. So Here you can see that Evagos tiktokorosaha. So the molecular mechanism functioning in the airway epithelial innate immunity, the inhaled pathogens, including viruses, bacteria, fungi, are trapped in the airway surface liquid, that is ASL, containing sticky mucus secreted by the submucosal exocrine glands and respiratory goblet cells. The trapped pathogens are then eliminated from the airway through mucociliary clearance, the most important physical defense against these inhaled irritants and microbes. So this MCC, that is mucociliary clearance, is controlled by the beating of the motile cilia and requires the proper regulation of the ion and fluid transport by the epithelial cells to regulate the mucosal viscosity and rheology. So there are certain cells, there are certain ciliated cells, goblet cells, basal cells, and there are the SCC, that is the brush cells, which can throw out physically the foreign substance which has been trapped by the nasal mucosa. So these nasal mucosa, they have certain receptors on it. If you again go back to the molecular biology, and if you go back to the diet and the medicines the Ayurveda has recommended Lagu Ahar, they have recommended bitter medicines, and the molecular biology says that on the mucosa, on the mucosal layer of the nose, of the sinuses, of the throat, of the tongue, of the mouth, and of the lower respiratory tract, there are two types of receptors. Two types of receptors there are there. There is T1 receptor and T2 receptor. T1 receptors, it is about the sweet taste receivers, and the T2 receptors, which are in abundant into the nasal mucosa, into the sinus mucosa, into the throat mucosa, they are abundant. And when we are giving such treatments, such medicines which are in the form of parimarshanasya, which are in the form of oral medicine into a very specific dose, because for most important thing what I want to elaborate here is that there are many medications which are coming on the social media, that you eat curcumin, you eat masalas, you eat spices, but what is the dose? Doses are very important. You have to take it in a therapeutic dose. You have to ask your local Ayurveda doctor for the therapeutic dose, and that therapeutic dose will be decided by your Ayurveda doctor, by your Ayurveda physician, that in what therapeutic dose these medicines are to be taken. And if these medicines are taken into the therapeutic dose, then they are directly received by the mucosal layer of the nose, because there are abundant T2 receptors on the nose. So multiple T2R receptors, T2R4, 14, 16, and specifically T2R38, which is more abundant into the nasal cavity in the cilia of the sinonasal epithelial cells, have been identified. One specific test receptor isoform, that TR38 in airway cilia, is activated by gram-negative bacteria, certain viruses, and initially identified as a mouse nasal SCC agonist. So these are the agonists. So if we are again giving bitter taste medicines to it, so that can be sensed, what we call as an extra, what we can call as that these receptors are extra gustatory receptors. So these receptors in humans, the acyl homoserine lactone stimulation of the cilia localized at T2R38 leads to robust intracellular nitric oxide production. Make it a point that these medicines which are received by the cilia, these bitter tested medicines which are received by the cilia, they have an interaction with the acyl homocysteine lactones, which can stimulate intracellular nitric oxide production, and the intracellular nitric oxide production that occurs through the activation of calcium dependent nitric oxide synthase, likely the endothelial NOS isoform. The intracellular NO activates protein kinase to phosphorylate specific ciliary proteins to increase the frequency of ciliary beating. So what does they do? They will increase the ciliary beating of the certain cells into the mucosa and physically throw out the foreign substance. That's very important. That it will physically throw out the foreign substance. That is the first important thing. Second thing is that this nitric oxide, which is stimulated by the bitter taste receptors, NO and RNS can severely damage the bacterial cell wall and membrane, inactivate various bacterial enzymes, and damage bacterial DNA. Nitrous oxide and RNS likely damage fungal cell walls and viral coat proteins as well. It is very, very important. That's the scientific reason behind that. That in certain pandemic diseases, in certain cure-like diseases, we have to advise bitter taste medicines, whatever bitter taste then your physician selects at that stage. You are not, general lay person can't select that bitter taste medicine. You have to be an Ayurved doctor. You have to take an opinion of your Ayurved doctor that which bitter tasting medicine, in what therapeutic dose, in what frequency, in which stage, they are all different. So these type of bitter taste medicine, they have two activities. They will improve the ciliary movements of the mucosal cell to throw out the pathogen physically, and the second impact is that it will again release nitrous oxide, and this nitrous oxide will have an impact on the bacterial cell wall. It has an impact on the viral coat proteins as well. So this is again a very, very important mode of action. Here we have shown in the figure that Yavagbos Tiktakorasaha. So this again, very, very important. This competes with the quinolines, with the quinolones. So in certain thing, into a certain stage, for example, into the second or third stage, if hydroxychloroquine is advocated to the patients, which is the bitterest tasted drug in modern medicine, along with that, you can also add our Tiktaras medicine, which can have an additive effect. We know that samane vriddhi sarvesham viparita viparya, which will have an additive effect, and this additive effect we have shown here, that here the cilia will act more fast to throw out the pathogen, and again calcium channeled nitrous oxide synthase and nitrous oxide synthesis will increase, and that will directly kill the bacteria and this bilipid layer of the viral cells and increase the cilial beating. So this is the impact of the, so in the first stage, in the second stage, as well as in between the second and third stage, in the third stage also, we can advocate bitter taste medicine along with hydroxychloroquine also. If there is no hydroxychloroquine, no doubt we can have an increased dose of our medicines at that stage. An appropriate physician can give a very correct dose. A very correct dose with a very higher dose, we can manage these type of patients without hydroxychloroquine also, because the concept is very clear. Hydroxychloroquine, due to the bitterness, has an impact on the nitrous oxide synthesis. Again, our Tiktaras medicine, with the help, due to the acceptance by the receptor, they also have this impact. So in the first stage, in the second stage, in the third stage, we can definitely give these Tiktaras medicines very correctly. Then the third mode of action, why it is given, why Tiktaras are advocated. So first we have seen that can have an impact on T1R2, T1R3 receptors. Then that will have a pathogen killing activity. It will increase the ciliary beating. And again, a very, very important mode of action, which again we have shown here in the figure, that that stimulated SCC can activate trigeminal efferent nerve through acetylcholine, causing plasma extravasation and reflexive breath holding. So airway surface liquid glucose binds SST1R2 and reduces the activation of T2RS within the same SCC, leading to the decrease in the AMP release. So different isoform of T2RS and SCC and cilia respond to different subsets of the compounds, potentially allowing the activation of two different responses at distinct times. So two responses at a distinct times, a single Tiktarasatmak. This is the beauty of Ayurveda medicine. It is a multi-targeted. It doesn't have a single receptor. It is multi-targeted. At one point, it is increasing the ciliary beating, and the second time, it is having a synthesis of nitrous oxide synthesis, damaging the bacteria, fungus, and the bilipid layers of the viruses. And on the third part, it is having the impact on the acetylcholine, and where the breath holding time of the patient is increased. See the beauty. The same thing, the impact can come out of the vasa also, adulsa. It is the best medicine, which is a Tiktara medicine, and which is having a special affinity towards the lungs. And here the acetylcholine stimulation, which is having a breath holding effect. Here you can see the breath holding effect. Here we have shown the breath holding effect and the plasma extravasation. These are the 4 important effects of the Yavagvos Tiktogo Laghuanna, Koshnajal, Langhan, and Tiktarasatmak medicine. Langhan has a complete impact on the inflammasome. Inflammation can be reduced because major of the problems comes out of inflammation. The organ damages are due to inflammation. And this inflammation can be controlled by Langhan. Inflammation can be controlled by food. Even type 2 inflammation can be generated by good quality food. Then the third thing what we can give, that is the breath holding capacity of the lungs can be increased due to this Tiktarasatmak. Physical barriers can be removed by the Tiktarasatmak. So one Tiktarasatmak medicine given in a proper dose. No need of different kalpas and mixed medicines and formulation. No need. A single drug is sufficient. If you are using in a proper dose, a single drug is sufficient, and a single drug or single herb, which is Tiktarasatmak, can have an impact on all the basic pathology which is getting corrected, with the Tiktarasatmak medicine. So this is the underlying thing. Now in the next coming slides, we are going to see that these medicine also has an impact on the immune system as well, because first we have seen that Charak has told first to give Panchakarma, then to give certain medicines, then to give Langhan, then to give Langhan and Pachan. So this Langhan and Pachan can be given along with the low portion diet, light diet, along with the Tiktarasatmak medicine, and then patient is to be subjected to the medicines which are having immunomodulatory effects. So definitely there are different medicines which are having immunomodulatory effect. It's not like that Ayurveda doesn't have any impact on immunity. Again, everybody knows, every Ayurveda doctors knows that Vyadhi Kshamatva has been elaborated by Chakrapani into the 28th chapter of Charak Sutrasthan. They have elaborated Vyadhi Kshamatva, and there are 2 types they have given. So I'm not going to spend time into elaborating all these 2 types. But definitely, immunity and Ayurveda medicines, they are having a very strong relation. Not only in innate immunity, also in humoral immunity, also in adaptive immunity, also in creating antibodies, also in creating the natural killer cells. Also they have an impact on the CD8 and CD4 counts. So this is very, very important, that which selection of the drug by the physician is very important. Now basically when we talk about the immunomodulators, right from Ashwagandha, Amalki, and all that, there is a big list of the medicines. Adulsa is there, Trikatu is there, Trifala is there. There is a big list of the medicine which is having a immunomodulation activity. Here we don't talk, when we talk about immune system, we don't talk about immunopotentiation and immunosuppression in Ayurveda. We talk about immunomodulators in Ayurveda, and these immunomodulators are to be selected as per the stage of the medicine. That is very important. Unfortunately, when I went to a market, it happened that majority of the people, not knowing their prakriti, not knowing the stage of their status of that prakriti, status of the disease, they are continuously consuming Chyawanprash like medicine. Chyawanprash is not the medicine. It should be taken when the patient is in the contact stage or the suspected stage or stage 1 or stage 2. It is not the medicine to be given immunomodulator. Post-viral effect, post-viral relapse, in those conditions where CD4, CD8 counts are depleted, in those conditions only Chyawanprash can be advocated. When there is a problem of CD4 and CD8, when there is a relapse, because CD4 and CD8 have a memory, and this memory can be there for nearly 4 to 6 years with the patient of COVID positive. So again they can show relapse. For those patient, medicines like Amalki, medicines like Chyawanprash will work. But when in these pandemic days, here we have to go for Laghuanna, we have to go for Langhan, we have to go for Koshnajal, and we have to go for Tiktarasatmak medicine only. Other immunomodulators, they are at a different stage. That the Ayurveda doctor has to think about it, that in which stage we have to give it. I have to elaborate very important slide regarding immunomodulation. Yeah, I'm not finding this lecture is very big. I'm not finding the slide, but I'll tell you that now if some news are coming that again people from China, they are again catching with such certain infections. The same patients are catching certain infection. Why these people are catching with the same infection? Because their CD4 and CD8 memory cells, they keep the memory of these antigen antibody complexes with them for from 6 to 8 years. They, when their immunity goes down, again they can present with certain symptoms. In those, this is the biggest area actually for Ayurveda people to work, that relapses, to prevent relapses and to prevent the disease. So these are the areas where Ayurveda people can work in prevention, what we call as swasthasya swasthya rakshanam. So in the coming endemic disorders, coming pandemic disorders, now we can start our management very correctly. I'll not elaborate these slides. Yes. So this is the list of certain herbs, that garlic, turmeric, pepper, then cardamom, then licorice, then there are certain herbs like just now Chajir sir has suggested tulsi. There are many herbs which are having immunomodulatory activity. Now these immunomodulatory activity, they work through inhibition of cytokines. Majority of the herbs, they have an impact on cytokines. They interact with cytokines very nicely. Secondly, now it has been found in COVID-19 that it is mediated through interferons, and the virus COVID-19 is known to suppress the interferons also. Now we have to select certain herbs which are having cytokine inhibiting activity as well as interferon stimulating activity at the same time. And these type of herbs are known, researches has been conducted in the animals, also some clinical trials has been conducted, and some of the herbs like licorice, there are many herbs which are having cytokine inhibiting activities, interleukin inhibiting activities, as well as they have interferon stimulating activities too. So such type of drugs we have to select, to have a knowledge of Tikta Rasatmak drugs, to have a knowledge with the Rasavirya Vipak, to have a knowledge on the immunomodulatory effect of the drugs. We can actually select the drug as per the status, as per the stage of the patient, and that drug is to be administered to the patient very correctly. And if we administered in a very proper dose, then definitely we can advise the patient very nicely through Ayurveda managements. So here these are the chemical structures. Actually, see, you can see turmeric, that is curcumin. The chemical structure of curcumin is shown here. But this curcumin doesn't work. We can't give curcumin directly to the patient. We have to give Haridra as a whole. At the most, we can go for the hydroalcoholic extracts of Haridra, and these extracts are to be used in a proper therapeutic dose. That's very important. Dosage in this stage, dosage of the drug herbs what we are using should be very correct. Those definitely they are to be given in a higher doses that is tolerable to the patient, which can be tolerated by the patient, and these doses, they are to be given very correctly as per the Rutu. Yes, somebody has asked about that regarding Grishma Rutu, which type of herb is to be selected. Then you have to select certain herb which is suitable into the Grishma Rutu. Yes, Chajir sir, thank you that you have suggested regarding Guduchi, which is again a very good herb, and many of the states now they are promoting Guduchi as the drug of choice for the COVID-19 patients. So these are the actually interactions of the herbs with the antigen antibody complexes. What I am showing you, the interaction between terpene compounds in the active site of the protease enzyme viruses. Now this studies has been taken place in the protease enzyme, protein enzyme viruses, that is HIV and all other viruses. But definitely with these studies we can come to certain conclusions that yes, certain Ayurvedic herbs also can have and very good impact on the herbs. Definitely extracts are also advised, total herb is also advised. Definitely pharmacologically, the pharmacology of extracts and pharmacology of the herbs, they are totally different. If you have a knowledge of pharmacology of extracts, you can use for extracts, or you can use the herb as a whole, but the proper dose is to be used. Then Ayurveda intervention in COVID-19, we have classified into certain stages. That stage 1, that is suspected and contact; stage 2, COVID positive, asymptomatic to symptoms like dysphagia and fever; stage 3, coughs, GI symptoms, increase HB and ferritin levels; stage 4, breathlessness with end organ damage; post COVID positive recovered. That's very important. Now we can see that we have thousands of people who were COVID positive. Now they are negative, but they can again become positive. That COVID relapse, reverse stage 1. So these type of classifications we have to make, and then different type of Ayurvedic medicines which are having different type of immunomodulatory activity, these are to be given at a different stages. That's very important. So here, no doubt, when the patient is in stage 2, stage 3 condition, definitely there can be a common treatment, because Charak has already told that here we can have a prototype of treatment, but definitely we can classify the patients very correctly. When the patient comes to our OPD level one by one, we can analyze their stage, we can identify their prototype, we can identify their phenotype, and then we can advise the treatments to them. So these type of stages, so suspected and contact stage, we can advise Langhan, we can advise Koshnajal, Kavala Dharan, Pratimarshanasya, Abhyanga, Udavartan, and quarantine. That's very important. So avoid Kapha Vata Prakopak Ahar Vihar. That's very important. Stage 2, Langhan, Koshnajal, Langhan and Pachan. Then Shadanga Panya, recurrent regular Shadanga Panya is advised to this patient, and Tikta Rasatmak medicine having antiviral properties and quarantine. This is the treatment of stage 2. In stage 3, hydroxychloroquine antiviral drug along with Tikta and Madhur Rasatmak medicine having antiviral property, that can be added along with quarantine, and avoid Kapha Vata Prakopak Ahar Vihar. So these are the stages and these are the treatment what we can give. And now at this stage, Laghu and Tarpak Ahar. Laghu and Tarpakar. Here you can give Chyawanprash like medicines which are literally, which are actually guru to get digested. But once we go through the Sansarjan Kram, Sushruta has clearly mentioned about Sansarjan Kram. They have used the word Sansarg. So this Sansarjan Kram is to be followed, and then not to avoid the relapse, we can use medicines. Then Laghu and Tarpakar, proper Dinacharya, including Kavala Dharan, Pratimarshanasya, Abhyanga, Udavartan. Abhyanga and Udavartan play a very, very important role in post-COVID positive recovered patients. So such type of treatments can be given. Talking about the mode of action of all the managements, what we are advocating through Ayurvedic treatments is that we control inflammation. That is the first thing. By giving Koshnajal, by giving Langhan, while giving Langhan and Pachan, while giving Tikta Rasatmak medicine, while giving immunomodulators, what we are doing at a molecular level, we are controlling the inflammations. So we are controlling inflammation, we are creating type 2 inflammation, stimulate innate immunity, we are stimulating adaptive immunity, we are regulating CD4 and CD8 counts, we are supporting phagocytosis. So while supporting phagocytosis, what happens? We know that when phagocytosis increases, reactive oxygen species also increases. So there is more and more free radical generation. So any medication which is correct at this stage, working on the blood as an antioxidant, because I am specifically talking working on the blood as an antioxidant, because blood has a thrombolytic act, because thrombolysis is a very important pathology which has been discovered, and where HB is getting separated, ferritin is increasing, HB is increasing. So here very strong antioxidant working on the blood is to be advocated, which can control reactive oxygen species in the blood tissues, and that can stimulate phagocytosis. So we are supporting the control of reactive oxygen species, increase efficacy of the conventional medicine. This is again it is a controversial, definitely, that really whether Tikta Rasatmak medicine are going to support antiviral and chloroquine like drugs. But definitely when we talk about that, when we are stimulating immunity, innate and adaptive, both of the immunities, when we are reducing inflammation, definitely they are going to support the conventional medicine and increase their efficacy. We are controlling the relapses by giving strong immunomodulation, and again, Daiva Vipashre Chikitsa, that is confidence building, which has been very, very clearly elaborated in Charak and Sushrut. And fortunately, we have followed it 2 times by ringing the bells, ringing by beating the thalis and lighting the diyas. We are literally honoring the Panchamahabhut, which has been disturbed into the world. And by doing all these things, we are just through a holistic approach, we are controlling the COVID-19. We can control it only purely by Ayurveda management. Just for emergency purpose, we may need a help of certain modern medicines like antivirals, maybe steroids, maybe hydroxychloroquine, certain at that specific stage. But definitely up to certain stage, we can definitely control COVID-19 purely through Ayurveda management. So that was the message I want to give you. A very important slide I want to show you, that there are certain quotations from uh, Vadula Smriti, Manusmriti, then Padma Puran, Sushruta Samhita, Manusmriti, and these quotations are there that घ्राणा से वाससाच्छाद्य मलमूत्रम त्यजेत बुधः और नियम्यम प्रयतो वाचम संवितांगुतो अवगुंठितः. So when you are defecating or micturating, you should close your mouth and nose. That's very important. Why I'll show you. I'm going to show you the second slide also. Then snanachara vihinistya sarvasyu nishphala kriya. So without bathing, we should not go for any work, because bath has also an impact on the innate immune system. Hastapade mukhe cheva panchardo bhojanam charet. Without washing the hands and feet, we should not eat any type of food. And न अनातुरः swani khani na sprishen nimitiva. Unnecessarily, we should not touch our mouth, nose, and eyes. These are the quotations from all the older mythological scripts from India, and they give a perfect message. Now, here you can see the suggestion from certain gastroenterologists, and they have told that since infected individuals may be asymptomatic and testing everyone will not be feasible, assuming everyone to be potentially ineffective and observing the mentioned personal hygiene measures universally, we should follow certain rules that our scientific studies have proven that apart from nasal and respiratory secretion, COVID-19 virus is actively shed into the stools of infected patient. This shedding may continue to occur for long as well as 5 weeks after the patient recovers from the respiratory symptoms. So this is very important. So your toilet should be, commode should be clean. You should put a lid on your commode after defecation. It should never be kept open, and all the things which has been given, that you should not touch your sensory organs unnecessarily. We should wash our hands, wash our feet regularly before going for food, and all these things. These were the suggestions given from our mythological scripts, which actually we have forgotten to follow. So these were the things. I have tried my level best to elaborate it in a very, very scientific manner, that why Ayurveda treatment would be beneficial and will be rightly helpful in managing COVID-19 patients. Thank you. Thank you very much to be present with me. Thank you.